So what can success look like for you? It is now time for us to hear stories from some of your fellow entrepreneurs in education who were once where you are. They set goals and have achieved elevated levels of success under the coaching of Dr. Erica and her team. And I'm really excited to invite some new faces to the stage for our client success panel. Y'all give it up for that. Now up first, she is committed to changing how students experience mathematics, especially those from marginalized groups. And she advocates for mathematics instruction that develops all students as mathematical thinkers and problem solvers. Please welcome founder and CEO of Seda Educational Consulting, Dr. Pamela Seda.
Let's celebrate. There's a party going on right here. A celebration to last throughout the year.
Give it up for y'all. Look at her. Don't she look good? Yes.
After two, we gon' celebrate.
Next, she delivers targeted coaching for teachers, professional development for educators and leaders, and strategic guidance for schools implementing high-quality math curricula. Please welcome the founder of MathSavvy Advisors, Amina Banks.
That's one thing you did now. That's one thing that caught me slipping. That's one thing I want to admit.
Come on, Amina.
That's one thing I know is
Come on, Amina.
That's one thing.
Hey. And our final panelist is a dynamic facilitator of adult learning, leading professional development for over 10,000 educators in cities across the U.S. and the United Kingdom. Please welcome the founder and chief education officer of VJR Consulting Firm, Dr. Vernon James Riley.
Upgrade you. Let me upgrade you. Let me upgrade you. And let me upgrade.
Come on. Come on.
Introduce you to some
Hey.
upgrade you. Let me upgrade you. Let me upgrade you.
You're gonna win every time. Y'all give it up for Dr. EJT.
To keep the streets on. Know this true the type that like to keep them on the leash though. I'm known to walk alone, but I'm alone for a reason. Sending me
All right,
ain't a piece.
I'm super excited about this conversation because you all now get the opportunity to hear live and in person from members of our community, and we get to kind of dissect their bright spots together, all right? So we heard bios, but let's just have each of you introduce yourself, name, location, one sentence about your business. And let me give you a little bit of my cheat code nugget. When I'm asking you to say one sentence about your business, you're basically naming the problem you solve. Okay? So we'll start with Dr. Pam.
I am Dr. Pamela Seda. I am the founder and CEO of Seda Educational Consulting. I live right here in the metro Atlanta area, and I help leaders support teachers in meeting the needs of their marginalized math learners so students are empowered to do the hard work of learning.
Hi, my name is Amina Banks. I'm based out of the New York, New Jersey area. I am the founder and CEO of MathSavvy Advisors, and we partner to build systems and build capacity in leaders to close gaps and build math genius, actually awaken math genius in all students.
Yay! All right, and Dr. Vernon.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vernon James Riley. I am the founder and chief education officer of VJR Consulting Firm. I'm based in Washington, D.C. Okay, D.C. DMV. And we support school and system leaders with developing the mindsets, habits, skills, and systems for transformative instructional leadership.
All right, right, so we're gonna do a quick poll, couple of questions, so that way you all can quickly get a little bit of context in terms of who we have on the stage, and then we'll go deeper with some questions. I will leave a little bit of time for you all to ask any questions that you may have, so as you're listening, if there's questions that come up, take a note, because we'll have a few minutes for those. All right, so quick kind of lightning round. Raise your hand if you've had your business for more than 5 years. All right, raise your hand if you are full-time in your business. Raise your hand if you have been full-time in your business for more than a year. Raise your hand if you have made 6 figures in a year in your business. Raise your hand if you have made 6 figures in a quarter. All right. Raise your hand if you have had to increase your prices. Raise your hand if you had to pivot in either your target audience or your offers. Raise your hand if you're in the mastermind. All right, so let's get into it. So I'm really excited to have these 3 folks, because they all have really, really different stories and interesting nuances to their business. And so let's first start with Dr. Pam, because I think you have what's interesting about your story. If you could just briefly tell us, because you started your business, went back into the school system, and then went back into your business. And so if you could give us a high-level overview of what called you back to your business. Because many people, they're like, well, should I go full-time? I don't know if I want to go full-time. Give us, why for you did you go back to being full-time?
It was probably the same reason I went to business the first time. I was given lemons in my K-12 setting. The first time it happened to me, my position was abolished. And so I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and start my business, doing the same things that the district didn't appreciate that I did. I did it for myself, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I did start for a year, but being by myself, I had a family, I needed, all those things. So I went back to the K-12. But the same reason was when I was given lemons again in my district. And so I decided to go ahead and retire and put myself all in. I just decided I didn't want to no longer be in a place to where I was just tolerated.
So good. Amina, talk to us around how you found your first client.
Oh, that's a very good story. I had my first client came out of me looking for a job, actually. I reached out because I saw something on LinkedIn, and they were like, oh, no, this is, we need you to fulfill contracts. We don't have anything consistent. So I said, okay, that's fine. I'll continue looking for my job. Then a year later, I reached back out to them because I needed some, I said, I have a job now, but I need a little extra money because I wanted to put my son into private school. So I said, I wonder if that place, still has that open, that opportunity available, or some kind of opportunities. So I started to just go into my network and see if this is something I can do. Not thinking of a business, but thinking of just a side hustle, really. And they happened to have something for me. It was a subcontracting opportunity. But they said, you need a business. And I was like, a business? So I had to figure out how to get an LLC and everything in a day. And I had a business and I had a client all together. So, and I have several stories about that, of me going through a job opportunity and deciding, how about we work together through my business? So that's a story. Those are some stories I have. So that's how I've gotten several clients actually since then.
And a follow-up question, because I think what's really interesting about your business is your client acquisition.
Yes.
So how you have acquired your clients. So talk to us around your recent acquisition strategy that has led you to generating 6 figures in your business.
Yes, because I started out doing mostly subcontracting, I didn't have to worry about marketing myself. And the nice thing about subcontractors is you get a chance to sort of build your chops before it's in your name. So I took that as an opportunity to say, okay, I want people to speak about me when I'm not around in a way that it sings my praises. And so that's how I performed in the subcontracting space. That is what produced me getting made me get my own contracts, was me just going in with this idea of overperforming and overperform. I just did what I do, right? But it then became me working with their networks, and then a few of them, once the contract ended, they wanted to continue with my business. So that's how that worked.
So good. So Dr. Vernon, how long have you had your business?
My business is a little over 2 years old.
And how long have you been full-time in your business?
Since May.
Okay. And so talk to us around what has been the evolution of your business from a revenue standpoint over the past 2 years.
Sure, I could probably give you the past 5 years.
Okay.
Yes. So similar to Amina, I was a subcontractor for other organizations before I started my own business. So even back as far as me being a principal, I had a former employer reach out and say, we would love for you to come and do what you do, and we'll pay you for it. And so when I began to track my numbers in terms of subcontracting, the evolution 5 years ago was 25,000. The year after that was about 60,000. That's when I enrolled in my doctorate program, which was a 3-year program. So
Was it part-time or full-time?
it was full-time. I left a 6-figure job to go back to school full-time, where the student stipend was about $20,000. And that was part of the disruption that caused me to say, what am I gonna do, right? Because a little bit about me, I grew up with a single grandparent, and we lived in poverty, and I was like, I ain't going back to that. So something's gotta give. And so that first year in my doctoral program, I made $190,000. My second year, when I came to SFE, I was on track to make $400,000, and this year we're on track to make $720,000.
So something that I've heard, I don't know the who to attribute to in terms of a quote, but I've heard reasons sound like excuses to winners. And so for some people, one of the reasons why they can't make money in their business is, well, I'm in school full time. And reasons sound like excuses to winners, right? I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but if you wanna do it, you can make it happen. Dr. Pam, talk to us around what's interesting with your business models. You have a book. How long ago did you write your book?
It came out in 2021.
And how do you position your book in your business?
Absolutely. So the book that I wrote came out of my doctoral work, which is where my framework came out of, that I now use in my business. So the book has just really opened doors for me for speaking engagement. That's pretty much how I really leverage my book, and people just started asking me to attend conferences. I started by presenting, submitting proposals to like the NCTM conference and other conferences I was attending. And I was doing that for free, and paying. And that turned into, will you come and speak at our conference and we'll pay you? And that's one of the areas that I had to start raising my prices because I was asking for like $2,000. And now they pay me $10,000 for a speaking engagement. And so they use my book. My book is used in college classes. Actually, probably higher ed was probably the first people to purchase my book and embrace my book, because it's not just theoretical. I am an academic. I did do a dissertation, but I also was in the K-12 classroom and environment and was able to come up with real practical strategies. So university professors use my framework for the theory on what does equity look like in math classrooms, and then they have the real practical strategies as well. So I can't tell you how many people have said, oh yeah, your book is on my syllabus for my coursework. But sometimes at conferences, when I'm asked to speak, they will purchase my book for all of their attendees. So that's happened. And then like a school, one of the schools that I'm supporting, they've purchased my book for all of their teachers. So those are just a lot of different ways. Another thing I do is when I speak, I will also afterwards, have a table where I get to sell my book.
So I think what's interesting around, because how many books have you sold?
Over 18,000.
So just for reference, the average book in its lifetime sells 2,000 books, just for a reference point. And she done sold 18,000, okay? And I think what's interesting around what you just shared, Dr. Pam, is that the positioning of the book in your sales process. So I know our Lux ticket holders had an opportunity to spend time with Jasmine Womack yesterday, who is so amazing and phenomenal at what she does. And she helps folks become authors through self-publishing. And I think one of the biggest missteps that people make with books is they don't position them in alignment with their business model. So people will write a memoir, no shade, write a memoir that's not connected to their business model at all, or they'll write a book that might be in the area of education, but it's not directly connected to their business, when ideally you want to position your book as either a lead magnet or a nurturing strategy. So when Dr. Pam is going to a conference and they're buying her book for every attendee, now it's a nurturing strategy because every attendee is leaving with her, right? So just some interesting things to think about. Dr. Pam, you opened this door that I think would be a great conversation for us to talk about offers and pricing. So I would love for each of you to talk through what your offers are and your pricing for your offers. So let's start with Dr. Vernon, then we'll come down this way.
Sure. So we have two primary offers, which are professional development and coaching. So in our professional development, tier 1 would be either a half day in person or a half day virtual. Tier 2, which is where we start the conversation, our quote unquote bread and butter of professional development, is just a 1 day in person PD. And then our top tier would be a series over time. For coaching, our tier 2 sort of bread and butter is a combination of virtual coaching and quarterly school visits. If we have to downsell, we downsell into just the virtual coaching. If we upsell, we layer on PD. So that gives me a framework to enter into the conversation and say, what do I offer that can match what this client needs in terms of capacity as well as budget?
Y'all heard upsell and downsell, right? Hashtag tiers. All right, Amina.
So my tier 0 is actually, I have a tier 0 now, is actually an audit. I go in and I audit just, what's happening in a math team. My focus is building teams and systems. And so, I ask them for data and I kind of do an audit of what I see happening. That then transitions them into, it kind of filters the kind of PD they need, which is my now tier 1, which is a PD. Typically, PDs are not enough. It needs to be some coaching. And so that's where tier 2 comes in, where we can now add coaching, and that can be group coaching, individual coaching. I'm branching into virtual, but right now my business is very regional, so everything we do right now is in person. And then the top tier is more, it's a lot more intensive. I think yesterday someone talked about doing a more in-depth assessment and sort of like of schools, of what's happening, interviews and focus groups. I actually do something like that in my tier 3 to really get to what are the gaps in the systems that's causing maybe some math gaps or scores being low, and kind of give them a customized way to fix that with all parties involved getting kind of a game plan. So that's sort of like my top tier.
And talk to us through your price points.
Okay, my audit is $2,000. Now, pricing is a journey, everyone.
100%.
Okay, so I want you to understand that, like, I have been undercharged. Can I just talk about my pricing journey? So when you started as a subcontractor, obviously they're taking a cut. So you don't really know what your worth is. I was doing something with a university in New Jersey, and I was subcontracting with them, and they mistakenly, on an email to a client I was going to work with, sent the invoice and a reply all with me on it. I was like, oh, really? This, and meanwhile, I'm doing everything. This is not like they gave me slides. There's some people that'll give you slides, they'll give you something. I had to build this all from scratch. And I said, wow. So when she said like disruption precedes transformation, and disruption sometimes is like just being pissed off and a little bit of anger, that was it for me. So I said, okay, I need that. That was my moment, So I still am working on that. I'm in a market where I'm trying to improve my pricing, but I do start out at $2,000. My PD is at $5,000, and right now that's for a full day of PD. And then my tier 2, which is the coaching, that is about $15,000, right? And I usually package it depending on like how many is needed. And then my top tier, that is actually $35,000.
Got it. And then Dr. Vernon, talk to us around your price point.
Sure. Pricing is definitely a journey, and I agree with that experience of starting as a subcontractor and not knowing the full picture. And the thing that caused me to elevate my pricing was just realizing that the profit margin wasn't high enough for what I was charging people. Like when I thought about traveling to a school site to do PD, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, like if I charge $3,000 or $4,000, I get to take home $4,000. Well, it's like, well, I need a flight, I need a hotel, it's 4 or 5 Ubers, I gotta eat while I'm there. And when I did the math, I'm like, oh wait, I just did that for free. Right? like that's not making any sense, right? So I had to up my numbers. So my PDs, we offer our PDs, I should say, our team, we do it actually on a sliding scale based on number of participants. So full day in person from 0 to 10 is 7,500, so about $750 per person. Then I have 10 to 25 is 10,000. 25 to 50 is 12,500, and then 50 and up gets up to 15,000 for PD. For our virtual coaching, we're doing it at $1,000 per virtual session. That includes any prep, the hour of coaching, any follow-up, and what we call anytime support. So like you can text us or you can email us. We may hop on a 5 to 10 minute call with you, but you're not gonna get the full hour virtual coaching unless you pay for that session. And then we do school visits at a similar rate as our base PD. So either 5,000 or 7,500 for a day at a school.
So good. And then what about you, Dr. Pam?
So for my tier 1 is just a day of PD, and that's 10,000. And then my tier 2 is 3 to 5 days of PD, a PD series, which is 10,000 per day. So it's 30,000 to 50,000. And then my tier 3 is customized PD, which is 8 to 9 to 10 days, basically how many ever days that they're willing to have me there. I charge by the day, not by the session, or because I got to travel and things like that, so I pay by the day. And then I customize the package by adding, sometimes I add, of course I add my books, I have online courses that I add, as well as virtual coaching. And then another way that I customize it is by offering virtual professional development in between the face-to-face PD, and I charge $5,000 a day for that. And what I found is that, sometimes people are like, well, I only need you for 90 minutes. And I say, well, this is my daily rate. Now, if you want to use me for 2 breakout sessions during that time, or however, I say this is my daily rate, and that's how it is.
That's real.
So we're going to have time for 1 or 2 questions. So if you got a question, go ahead and head to the mic. What I just heard in the answers around offers and pricing is I heard boundaries, right? Even the boundary of a sliding scale, like that's a boundary. Because you're not about to PD and then you send 5 schools when the contract was with this school, and all of a sudden I show up and you got 5 times the people. Like, that's a boundary that helps prevent that, because y'all know how we be. You be like, well, we gonna send this school, we gonna send that school, and then somebody in there gonna try and present it next week to another 5 schools. Nah. And then from a this is my daily rate, right? It's powerful. All right, we'll start with Trey, and then we'll go over here to Dr. Cassandra.
Thank y'all very much. Dr. James, I'm curious, scaling up to 720,000 at your rates, how does the offer change or the contract change when you're working with a district? You might have multiple departments, multiple schools, and your staffing plans for those types of things.
Sure. So one of the blessings of building systems in my business has been being able to now bring other people on board to work with me. So I'm no longer a solopreneur. And so probably about a year and a half ago, I had an experience where someone wanted me to come out and do something, but I was still in school. And so I had class and I couldn't do it, but I really wanted to do it. So I said, who do I know who thinks like me, who knows the work, who has a proven track record of success, where if I prep them and give them what they need to do, they could go do it. And I have dug deep in my network and now have a team. Last year we had, I think, 5 subcontractors. This year we have between 8 and 10. Some people who are reaching out to me like, can I subcontract with you? Do you have any work, right? So it's about figuring out, how do I position myself as the face of the business? I'm gonna do the key contracts that actually fuel me. So I studied system level leadership for my doctorate, so that's the thing I wanna do. So I wanna work with district offices. But if you're a school, you can work with my company, you just may not get me all the time, right? So I have to build the trust with this organization that the person that I'm sending is gonna be as good as me, or at least 80% as good as me, right? At least 80% as good as me, right? And build that trust so that they can then do the work. So that's the way we're currently expanding our business. And at the nudging of Dr. EJT and the mastermind community, there are likely more W-2 employees to do client delivery in the near future.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, we'll go over here. Doc, it's on you.
Hello. Okay, can y'all hear me? Okay, my name is Dr. Cassandra Scales, and I curate baking leadership experience for early career leaders who are trying to gain their confidence, grow their schools, and retain their teachers. My question is, when did you make the pivot to work for yourself? So a lot of us are in the process of trying to build these businesses. I'm at E1, and eventually I do want to work for myself. So how did you all make that transition?
Let's start with Amina.
So I started getting paid January 2024. So this is my second year getting paid. It started in 2023, but that's when I started getting paid. So I was working from January through May. I had a very interesting moment at my previous job. I was kind of dealt with a betrayal from someone who I actually was like, we should start a business together. And so once that job ended, I just went all out. I will say one thing, because I said this yesterday to my small group. I was getting job offers after that job ended. And people were like, you're ready, you're available, come. I went on a cruise and crossed the ocean. And for those who know about crossing the ocean, something came over me and was like, you have to bet on yourself. Don't do it. These people were paying me more than my previous job. And so I wrote the email, got over to land. We're going to Bermuda. So I got to Bermuda, got Wi-Fi, and sent it. And I was like, okay, and I released it. Because for me, I said, I need to be free. I need freedom. I know money, but I need freedom. That was more important in that moment. And so one thing I did, though, is I said, I told them the truth. And I said, and therefore, would you mind, would you consider, I know you don't do contracting, but would you consider working with me as a business? And any work you can't do or you don't have the capacity, you could send it my way. I didn't hear from them for 2 weeks. I thought they were like, absolutely not. And they said yes. And they gave me pretty generous clients. So that was that was what happened with me. But it was just, I wanted freedom. That was it. I didn't care about the money. I wanted freedom.
Awesome. All right, is that Crystalline?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Crystalline.
Hey, y'all. So my name is Crystalline Thomas Davis, president of Literacy Lightbulb, an education consulting firm. We break down language arts concepts and provide literacy audits for schools. My question is around contract protections and things that you build into your contracts. And the reason I'm asking is because I had to put in a no solicitation clause, and I heard Amina, I think your name is Amina, I heard Amina kind of reference that a little bit, like she was solicited after she subcontracted for someone. So I'm just curious about some of the protections that are built into your contracts.
Good question.
So one of the first things I made sure that I built into my contract, because I remember when it have to do with my intellectual property. When I was a district coordinator, the standard boilerplate district contract always said that the district owned the intellectual property. And I remember contractors balking at that, which made sense. But the reason why it stood out to me was because it had to go to our legal if they wanted to do something else. So I remembered that well before I even started my own business. So now that I'm on the other side, I always, because they still consistently, districts always say they own the intellectual property, and I always have my boilerplate language that says, I own the property, and I give you limited use to be able to use it within your district. So that's one of the things, and I help craft that language with the help of a lawyer.
So good. Vernon, can you speak a little bit to any legal structures that you think about, given that you subcontract with subcontractors? What legal infrastructure have you had to think through?
Absolutely. So we definitely do have standard language provided by a lawyer about non-solicitation by my subcontractors. It essentially says that for a period of like 6 months or 12 months, they are not allowed to actively pursue a client who they otherwise would not have met other than doing the work through my company. Now, there are some shifting guidelines federally about non-competes. And so, one, talk to a lawyer, right? So I'm not a lawyer. So talk to a lawyer and see what it says. But that is one piece that I have definitely tried to put in there to protect myself and our business. The other thing that was interesting that I ended up putting in our contract through experience is a force majeure clause, which essentially says to a client, if there is some act of God that prevents me from being able to do the service that I promised you, I am protected and you actually still owe me money. And so what happened, what caused me to put that in was I was supposed to go to Rochester to work with a school, great school, loved it, and it was storming. Like I could not get there. All the flights were canceled. It was basically like the airport was shut down. So I called the leader and he was like, I'm sorry to hear that, man. We're gonna have to reschedule. And I was like, okay, but what about this flight that I just bought and paid for, and the hotel room that I have booked in Rochester that I can't? And there was no recourse in my contract. I just lost the money and then did the service again and took the L. And so now in the contract, it says, if something like that happens, you still owe this. Oh, well, it actually says, I will offer to do it virtually. That's what it says first. If I can't come in person, we'll do it virtually. If you decline it virtually, then you owe this %, or you have to reschedule within this period of time. And I even have that for our virtual coaching, because school leaders get busy. I don't think they're doing it intentionally, but some people will like forget they have a virtual meeting with you, or you be on Zoom texting them like, hi, are you still available to me? So it's like, I will be on Zoom for 15 minutes. And if you do not arrive, you owe me 100%. And it's not bad and wrong. I still love your school. I still love your district. I want to support you as a client. And I had to put those protections in place to show the value of our time, energy, effort, and expertise.
Thank you.
So this is a great example of legal infrastructure. We're not going to have any additional time for questions just because we're getting close to time here. And I have one final question, but to dovetail off of what Vernon named, if you were at SFE last year, you knew we had a hurricane. That force majeure clause saved me with the hotel. Because it was an act of God where I had a room commitment that it wasn't horrible, but we were going to have to owe money, but that clause saved us, right? So those are the types of conversations that from a legal infrastructure that are so important that we have conversations about in the mastermind. All right, final question for you all, because each of you are members of the mastermind. We're going to have a conversation around mastermind, be sharing information. What's either one thing that you enjoy the most about the mastermind, or a piece of advice you have to someone who's considering the mastermind? And whoever wants to start.
I'll start. I think the thing that I enjoy the most about being in the mastermind is it creates a space for me that I'm not afraid to fail. And let me tell you what I mean by that. I can come up with all these harebrained ideas and do stuff, and now that I'm in business, my mistakes can cost money, right? Whereas it was just me in the classroom, kid might not learn, but now my mistakes can cost money. Okay, they may not just learn for that lesson, okay?
Cut that part out.
All right, just for that day, okay? We can get it the next day.
We'll reteach.
Right, we can reteach it. But now it's like, I had lost money. But the thing about it is, this mastermind, I have a community to run ideas by, and I feel safe, so I don't have to feel like they're going to steal my ideas, and that I don't have to be afraid. If it's something that's just crazy, I know that my mastermind will say, no, don't do that. And so that there's a safety in that, so that I'm not afraid to try things. And that's to me is one of the best things that I love about being in the mastermind.
What about you, Amina?
So many of us have a story about, growing up poor, growing up just in under-resourced schools. For me, the mastermind is sort of getting access to the things that are gate-kept from our community. I knew I had to move really fast in my business, and I had to, because, I'm in the New York area, so it's very expensive. And I was like, I need to make back my salary. That was very important to me and beyond. So that's this community. It's like just resources. You log on, I need this, there's a resource there. You have helped me. You have helped me. I've been poured into by this community. And I don't know, I think that's the thing I love the most. It's like, it's information that I would not be able to figure out on my own. It would take me so long. There's times when I look at some of the modules, I'm like, and I talk to my husband, like, do you know how long it would take me to figure this out on my own? And it's so much value in it. It's actually hard to speak it, just briefly. It's really hard to say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree, and I would double down on community, and to go a little bit more granular, I would say for me, it's exemplars of other people doing amazing things and producing amazing results, both for kids and for their business, and then the support, the encouragement, the cheerleader, the accountability to actually get it done. So, for example, DMV, shout you out. We just had a DMV co-working session in preparation for Q4 planning. So everybody knew we had to get it done. So it's like, all right, y'all, everybody who's in the area, if you're in the mastermind, let's find a space. And shout out to Shauna, who found a pro bono space for us. And we went, we had a conference room, we planned for the whole half day, right? It was great. Last year, when there was that hurricane, one of last year's big themes of SFE was how to generate traffic through a webinar. I got caught up in the hurricane, so I missed the first day. Mm-hmm. So I got here and I'm like, okay, this webinar thing sounds good, but I don't really know what to do, right? Then I saw Diana doing webinars. I saw James doing webinars. I see Aaron doing webinars. And so then about a month ago, I said, all right, y'all, I'm gonna do a webinar. I literally texted them and said, tell me the real deal about the webinar, right? And they were like, here's how I'm doing it. Here's what's working. Here's what not. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I go watch the modules in the curriculum. I'm like, okay, now I think I got it. I know what to do. All along the way, every day, I'm texting them. Like, hey, y'all, we about to open the registration. We about to post. We're about to do everything. And so Tuesday, just led our first webinar, had 120 registrants, 50 attendees, and 20 signups.
20?
Yeah, she didn't know that.
I didn't know. Yesterday was 7.
Yesterday was 7. 20 signups for our brand new group coaching program, which is exciting. The goal was 10. We're at 20. And today, the early bird cart closes, so people got a whole nother week to keep buying. So buy. But honestly, I would not have done it if I was not in the mastermind. I wouldn't have done it because I literally did not know what to do, but seeing other people do it, being able to talk to them, ask questions, use the resources, get the advice, get the encouragement, post it in the Facebook group, all of those things was the support and the encouragement I needed to actually take that step and try something new.
Cool. Ooh, not you telling me new information on the stage.
Okay, you didn't know.
No, I was like, wait a minute, 2-0, wait a second.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. You all give it up for our panel. Show them so much love. Shout out to Dr. Pam, Amina, Vernon, Dr. Vernon, for taking the time to be able to share about their journey in business. We're gonna take a quick picture. Give it up for them one more time.